Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Advisor Tech Show. My name's Tess Lee. I'm Managing Director of Moneyinfo, and today I'm really pleased to be joined by Dan McMahon, who is Head of Technology and Innovation at Hyman Robertson Personal Wealth. Hello, Dan. How are you doing?
Hello, Tess. I'm very good, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the
No
Advisor Tech
problem.
Show today. It's very exciting. So as always, to get us started, I tend to ask people to tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be head of tech and innovation at Hyman Robertson. So what's your kind of story so far, I guess?
My story so far. So my background isn't actually in sort of financial advice or anything like that. My background's very much in sort of pension and DB, uh, digital product management, innovation management within the firm. So I started out of uni, had a little bit too much student debt to deal with. Not a great place to be in the financial advice space, but so I came out of uni and it was just right. I need a job. I need to any job will do. And I fell in. I went for three jobs. Got offered one at a pensions administrator, that was sort of quasi public sector, looking after the LGPS, and went in there. And the whole aim was I was going to work there for a year and pay off my student debts, and then I was going to go and do what I really wanted to do, which weirdly was in marketing. That was what I was originally thinking about getting into. So I was obviously I ended up being there for 13 years, not the year. And while I was there,
Wow.
I started off in pension admin, then I moved into a space that was all about bulk data. We were collecting all the data from all the employers, cleaning it up and passing it to the actuary for valuation. And as we were doing that, it was like it was really cumbersome. There was no fixed format that we were getting the data. There was a lot of paper still involved, even though we're well into the 2000s at this point. So I just thought there's got to be another way of doing it. This is mad. And I dabbled a lot with tech while I was at uni and stuff, and I like building websites and that sort of fun stuff. So I got very pally with the IT guys at the firm. And long story short, we built our own client portal for all the employers within the LGPS, and had a data validation service. They were able to upload their information, and then that led to more and more stuff, and resulted in me moving all over the place in the business until I was sort of head of. We had this horrible term called value added business, and I was head of that at the end of my sort of time there. And we were actually selling that portal out to other administrators, and I kept coming up against Hyman's and beat them a couple of times because they had a similar product. So in the end, Nigel, who was heading up that part of the business, asked me if I'd come and join Hyman, so that I was on that side of the fence, which I did. Looked after their equivalent product over there, but then started doing more and more product management across the whole suite of products at Hyman's. Got really into trying to work out how we could manage our ideas better. We had like obviously a big firm, lots of very, very clever people, lots of great ideas, but we weren't great at managing them and testing and seeing which ideas worked, which ones didn't. So I ended up doing a bit of studying with MIT and doing their innovation management course with Bill Owlett. That's the guy that sort of literally writ the book. And that resulted in the creation of, we had what was originally called the iHub in the firm, and that was really the sort of idea management center for the business. Then born out of that came a team called the Incubator, and the mission that we were given there was to look for new markets in which the firm could explore into. And what came up over and over again was there's this big advice and guidance gap in the market that we're doing a lot of work supporting corporate pension funds and advising at the corporate level, but obviously seeing more and more DB schemes move over to DC, making the onus more and more on the individual to look after their well-being rather than having this nice secure pension that they knew exactly what they were going to get at the end and it'd pay out forever. So out of that, we did a lot of market research, a lot of market testing, spoke to lots of advice firms. But long story short, there was a gap, there was a need there for a firm to come in and try and start closing that advice and guidance gap. And Hyman Robertson Personal Wealth was sort of born out of that. And I moved out of the incubator and was made head of tech and innovation as we did that. So we've been now running as a personal wealth business for about two and a bit years, 2.5 maybe.
Yeah.
And we've been working with you guys since day one. So yeah, that's sort of my journey thus far. But as I said, it was a bit of a baptism of fire. My experience definitely wasn't in this space in terms of looking at the tech stack and what folk have to use, what all the various tools and bits that are out there. There's a hell of a lot of tech in this space, not necessarily all of it good. But when I was out and trying to procure all this stuff, it just amazed me that, hang on, we're just trying to go from A to B here, and somehow I need 13 applications to do that journey, and not all of them talk to each other, and some do, some don't. And how do we get to a stage where we can get the technology working for us? Because realistically, the only way you're going to close that advice gap for those with particularly smaller pots and things is if tech is doing more and more of the heavy lifting. So that's really my mission as head of tech in this space.
It's interesting, picking up on a couple of the points you made there, when you were in pension administration, that the data was in a mess and it was in lots of different formats. It's very paper-based, and thinking, well, it sounds awfully familiar still today. And I suppose you've been with us since day one, since you started the business. So that's been quite an advantage for you in terms of setting up that tech stack and that picture of the tech that you wanted to use within the business, because it's made the adoption less of a challenge, I guess, because you've set your stall out from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we didn't have that legacy piece. So there was no migrating of data or trying to get even getting our clients used to a way of working. That's just the way we've worked since we began. So clients, we also started in sort of the midst of, well, lockdowns were still a thing when I can't remember where we were. So we instantly needed a mechanism to be able to work with clients digitally. So that was always the mission anyway, but it was an absolute necessity at that point. We couldn't be waiting to send things out in the post or trying to get into people's homes for discovery meetings and that sort of stuff. So we needed mechanisms to do that in a digital way. So all of our onboarding journeys were sort of baked in with Moneyinfo in mind. So on our guidance side, to this day, the whole onboarding, right to the point of somebody having their first coaching call, is managed by automated workflow within Moneyinfo. So it will send the welcome message, it will issue the terms of business and ask them to sign all of that. It will then issue a fact find. And once they've completed that, it will then issue them a booking request, and they can use Microsoft Bookings to book the appointment with the coach. So the whole end-to-end journey there is all stood up within Moneyinfo. And it means, again, on the coaching side, that we can service more folk and offer them that financial guidance. Because if you had an administrator there that was having to do all of that manually and chase things, and because it again does that as well, if somebody doesn't reply within so many days, it'll issue them a chaser message and all that sort of stuff. There's still unhappy paths in all of that, and we manage that, but it's not the norm. It's sort of 80% is all automated, and it's only the 20 we need to worry about,
which is how it should be, right? Always that 20.
Absolutely.
You're always going to get some that it doesn't work for certain clients, and you've got to have the ability to dive off and adapt that. But if you can get to that 80-20 rule, then I guess you see the real impact of tech within a business and how it saves time and cost, and means, as you said, your advisors and planners can spend more time having conversations with clients.
Absolutely, and that's where that EQ and IQ that they add to the journey is really the value add bit. People wasting time chasing documents or checking for things or sending things, that's not what we want them spending their time doing. And the bit for us as well was, again, working with partners where we could integrate the technology as much as possible, reduce the rekeying. And I think whenever I watch one of these, and this rekeying is still a big issue across this space. We're getting there. We are chipping away at that, but there's still a lot to be done. But from my point of view, if we can just get rid of all that waste and everyone's just focused on doing the value add stuff, then we'll just be able to service more and more clients and close that gap that so desperately needs to be closed.
You're right. We're seeing more, what I've seen out in the market certainly is there's much more amongst most, not all tech providers, there's much more of an appetite to integrate and to know that we've all got a place in that tech ecosystem and for it to work, because we're never going to get, I don't believe, we'll never get one technology that's going to do everything for an advice firm. You want to be able to choose the best of breed tools that work for you, whether that's your cash flow planning tools, your CRM, your portal and digital relationship management solution, which hopefully is Moneyinfo for most people, of course. Your Microsoft bookings, and it doesn't necessarily need to be industry tech. I think we're starting to see a realization that the tech ecosystem is your source of truth, right? And you're not going to have everything in one place, but as long as you've got access to all of that data and information, and let's integrate it where we can, I think we're certainly seeing a shift in the industry to attitudes around that and how we achieve that. And we're not, we want to do more integration. We're not there yet. We've got some good work coming up with the back offices in terms of two-way integration. And I know you've got Intelligent Office in at Hyman's. So there's some good work happening, but I think, are you seeing that like I am? I'm seeing much more appetite with the platforms and with other technologies to do more and to know that we've all got a place and there's room for all of us.
Absolutely, and that best of breed point is a really important one, I think. So literally just had a call prior to this with another advice firm who are of a similar mind to us in terms of not having all your eggs in one basket is a good thing, not being totally reliant on one side. Obviously that brings challenges on the integration piece and stuff like that, but not being wholly reliant on one supplier for everything, and then in the event that goes down you can't deliver your service, is a real risk. So working with partners that are happy to integrate. So as you know, we recently, or in the last, say recently, it's been about 6 months now, moved to using Hubwise as our main platform of choice. And again, that was because they've gone down the route of we will integrate, we will do the two-way document piece as well within Moneyinfo. So that means that all of a sudden clients don't need to log into the platform. They don't need to have, they just need one login. They can see everything that they need to see from the platform, but within the portal. Yes, there's still some more to do with the back office and getting more integrated with that. But generally speaking, it seems like all the different spaces that seem to realize that actually we need to do this. We need to be more connected. We need to offer solutions that don't create tons and tons of waste, that folk are just not worried about, I've got to key that in here, then over here, and then did I transpose anything wrong? Can somebody check that? For none of all that goes out the window, and you're just offering a sort of seamless advice process that goes straight through, which in other spaces is just the norm, right? It's really strange that some of the chats that I remember going to, one of my first sort of tech conferences in this space, and some of the stuff they were talking about, I was like, wow, they've not done this yet. This is strange. Why are we having these conversations?
Yeah. We've been having conversations about straight through processing for 25 years or more since I've been in this industry. We've always talked about STP and this utopia.
Yeah.
I think we're probably closer than we ever were before. But I think there's still a way to go with it, as you said. But I guess for you in a business like Hyman's, it's about the balance between the value that digital technology with your clients is bringing in terms of that time and cost saving and the ability to service more clients is, it's outweighed for you the fact that you don't have full integration with every piece of technology. But I hope what you've seen with us is that we're making strides into that, and we're constantly pushing it because we know where we sit in this ecosystem, and we've always been agnostic, and we also we've got firms all over the country using lots and lots of different technologies, and we've probably got 45-50 integrations right now, and more coming all the time. So I think as long as we can keep moving it forward, then that balance shifts then, doesn't it? And it becomes more and more efficient, rather than you're not compromising as such, but it's much more efficient as we move.
Yeah, and I'd say at the beginning, when we first, and again, this is only talking a couple of years, so just in terms of that program, there were times where you felt, you know what, we're compromising a bit here. We're creating these workarounds just to do X, Y, Z, but that's happening less and less now. And if anything, we're starting to chip away at some of that stuff that we were originally doing workarounds for. So an example for that is, so when we first started working with you guys, there was no fact find. There was no digital fact find. That wasn't a thing. So we use Microsoft Forms. It's not great, but it did the job on the guidance side for us. But now, sort of 2 years, a bit further down the road, we've got a digital fact find, and we can customize that. We can change that, and we can use it we can have more than one fact find. So we can just create little forms that are for a specific purpose, rather than doing a whole big fact find all in one. So We've been working our way through all of that now. They integrate with all the workflows. So again, you can automate all of that as well. So more and more, we're just chipping away at
Yeah.
being able to deliver things more efficiently.
And you've had, because of the nature of the fact that you kind of started from scratch with this, you've had really good adoption from your clients, right? And it hasn't been a challenge for you, because you've always said, this is how we do business, and
Yep.
this is our digital experience, and these are all the benefits that you get from it. Not least, it secures everything, but it's a nice, convenient experience, and you can see everything in one place, and you don't have to log into lots of different logins. So you've had the benefit of that, but you're a growing business. You've brought more advisors into the business over time, and we've had this discussion. Understandably, advisors can be adverse to adopting new technology because they've been stung by it in the past, right? So
Yep.
how have you found that process, and how are you overcoming that with your advisors in terms of getting them to adopt the technology?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. The tech has a bad rap in this
Yeah.
space. I think it's fair to say that advisors don't have a great experience of it. They don't see it as a facilitator. They almost see it as a blocker to delivering the, oh, I've got to do this here and then I've got to do it there, and then it's just all very annoying, very noisy. But one of the things we do, new advisor joins, obviously as part of their induction, we give them a look, this is the client, this is the way we deliver advice. And as part of that, this is where Moneyinfo fits into that journey. And here's all the reasons why it's great for a client. They can see everything in one place. They've got instant access to you via, well, they can message you at any time. Admittedly, it's not instant messaging in that way, because again, there was nervousness around that. Advisors thinking, oh, I'm going to be bombarded with messages all day long. And that's not how it works. It's just a secure messenger. But from a client feeling point of view, they feel like they've got instant
Yeah.
access in their phone, in their pocket. I can pop my advisor a message whenever I want. They can see all their plans in one place, and not necessarily just the plans that we're looking after. They can, using the open banking, they can pull in their current accounts, their credit cards. They can see all of that in one place. So part of the onboarding is that sell of, this is what's in it for client, Mr. Advisor, but equally this is what's in it for you. Like, it makes it a lot easier journey for you. You can issue your client agreements, you can issue your suitability report. It can all be signed in the platform. You can have a conversation direct within the platform. The client can book a meeting with you, and it's aligned to your diary. It won't be a surprise. We've got rules in there that they can't book one in the next 20 minutes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
all of that side was really well. And then overlaying that with, we've got access to your training team that will just come on and deliver training pretty much whenever we want it, which is mad, but we get that, which is great. So then the advisors get another session where they're taken through, and this is right, because there's a lot of bells and whistles to Moneyinfo. I think we use them all now. But just doing that in a structured way, and the planners having time to actually question some of that and understand, works really well. And they can dip in whenever they want again. So if they want a refresher at any point in time, they reach out and have a call. I think the other thing as well is just client reaction to the thing helps sell it as well. So we don't really, unless there's like a genuine sort of vulnerability issue there that means that just text, the digital experience is not the one, and we need to do a bit more old school. Generally speaking, everyone uses the app, uses it a lot. I've just got the dashboard open up there. We're nearly at the 1,500 client mark on the portal now.
Brilliant.
The bulk of them are using it. We've had a real surge lately of folk connecting bank accounts to it, as I suspect your support team will know, because a few of them had bank accounts I've never even heard of and weren't necessarily supported by Yodlee, so we had to give Yodlee a nudge to get them on there and stuff like that. So I think from the advice adoption point of view is, once they understand what's in it for them and what's in it for the client, then it's sort of a pretty easy sell, to be honest.
Are
I
they,
think,
you can answer this honestly, because I'm not sure what the stats are for you, but are the advisors and planners using the MIM mobile app? So the advice.
so they use weirdly they use the desktop. Like
Yeah.
they'll open their, like they'll navigate to it on the web on their iPad or on their laptop, but they don't tend to use the app for some reason. And I don't know why. I
Okay.
think a lot of it as well. We don't. I mean, we obviously do have in-person meetings, but there is still a lot more virtual Teams calls. And I think when they're on the Teams call like this, then having up on a monitor here
Yeah.
is just as easy as having your phone in your hand. So I think that's the only reason. It's not that there's some nefarious thing. They just will not use that app on top of another app. It's just, it's more convenient for them to use
It's
MIM
the way they're
on
delivering the
desktop.
advice, as you say.
Exactly.
It's virtual, isn't it? So maybe they've already got it open on their desktop. So I get that. I wonder whether we'd have something to work at then. So we're on a bit of a mission to get advisors using the tech more and to show them the benefits and the value that it can bring, and that it's, it's not a barrier to the conversations they have.
No,
It's
definitely not.
supporting them and doing the simple things that they need. They've got access to view their clients' portfolios, the recent documents, the correspondence, the timeline of activity. That's what it's all about. It's not about trying to step into that advice process, I guess, that the conversations that they're having with their clients. So, what are you seeing out there in terms of the innovation that you're seeing? What are the good things that you're seeing out in the market now? What do you think is? We'll talk about AI in just a second, but what are you seeing out there now that's exciting, and where do you see it going next?
Oh, see, my brain is all AI, and that is where I'm really excited. I'm trying to think of something that's not AI related.
Talk about AI if that's fine, because I wanted to talk about that because I know you're doing some exploratory work around AI, aren't you? And
we're doing
how's that going?
We are, yeah. So we're doing a bit of work with Microsoft using their Open AI service, which is essentially the Open AI model that powers ChatGPT, but you can now access it via Azure. So we're doing a bit of work on that. There's a whole project team working on all things AI across Hyman's, but for personal wealth in particular, there's a couple of use cases that we're quite interested in. So we're doing a piece of work now. So previously all our documents were held on IO. We're starting to move them out and get them into SharePoint, because then what you can do is point the OpenAI service at SharePoint and it can look at those documents. So for example, I've got a client review meeting coming up with Joe Bloggs. What is it I need to do? And you can just, in normal natural language, ask that of the AI, and it will go through all the documentation, all the data that we've got, and come back with a long form. Right, well, so they don't appear to be using their full ISA allowance. Maybe you'd like to have a conversation about that. You'd previously talked about X, but that doesn't seem to have happened. You might want to bring that up. Still can't see that there's a power of attorney or that sort of stuff. It will just do all of that in real and just support the advice conversation. It's not meant to be there as a replacement for the advisor in any stretch of the imagination, but just to help them navigating all of the documentation that you build up over time and all the information you collect about a client. You can distill that in a few seconds, just with in a conversational way. The bit that I'm really sort of excited about is when we can actually put that in the hands of the client as well. So, and again, what's great with Moneyinfo is you can integrate this stuff. You're not reliant on somebody else or a roadmap and all that sort of stuff. We can look at integrating that. So clients get issued with a lot of wordy, complicated documents all the blooming time. And advisors do a lot of work in sort of simplifying all of that and distilling the information that's in there. But obviously, sometimes you'll just get an ad hoc report from a platform or whatever it may be, and it could be, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. You've just had this thing land in your documents. What is this? I don't really get it. Being able to, again, just have that conversation with the AI on there, right? What does that mean? What is a GMP? What is that you've just mentioned there? What is this ISA allowance that I'm allowed? Can you explain that to me? All that sort of stuff. Obviously caveated with all the, like, this is not advice and this is just information, and training the model so that it's not giving advice, because obviously that starts getting really risky really quickly. That feels like a really powerful thing to put in the hands of clients. And the last bit is just on the compliance side, doing file checks, and a lot of the file checks that you do are very binary. So has an AML check been done? Does this exist on the file? Does that exist on the file? So those quantitative checks, the AI can do that in seconds and just almost report by exception and say, actually, there should be this thing on the file. I can't seem to see it. But what's really exciting with the sort of large language models is they can start to creep into the qualitative stuff now as well. So in your fact find, this has been said, but I can't see anywhere where you've reflected that in the suitability report, or the other way around. There's something in the suitability report I can't see where you've got that as part of your know your client piece. So if we can start doing that and support that and higher quality advice without the need for just an army of compliance folk, because they're so hamstrung with all the the regulation they need to
Yeah.
sort of ensure is complied with. If we can start supporting that with AI, again, it just means we can do more for less and have like suddenly you don't need hundreds of thousands of pounds as a minimum investment to start working with us. We can come right down because the tech's doing more and more of that heavy lifting.
Brilliant. That's really exciting because again, and it's the same story, isn't it? It's not about replacing, it's about freeing up even more time for advisors to focus on clients and to talk to clients and have those conversations rather than doing the admin. It's about preparing advisors for their meeting in an even better way than we can today by sifting through all of the information and pulling out the pertinent points that they need to pick up on. And the compliance angle, I've always thought there was a compliance checking angle for that. And I think you're right. The file checking is, I know there's tools out there that can monitor calls and things like that. And I'm like, I don't know whether that sits comfortably with advisors. I don't know whether, I think the other end of it, the double checking after the process is a much more comfortable use of AI.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, we're going to have to do this in steps, aren't we, to introduce and to prove success and adoption before we'll get to the point where we can really embed it. But that's exciting, and hopefully some of the stuff, again, we'll have to catch up on this at some point for another day, but the work that we're doing with workflow to be able to connect in those kind of tools will be really exciting for you. If you've got some of those in mind, we should have a conversation and see
absolutely
see what we can do fairly soon.
And again, if you start overlaying that with things like the open banking data as well, and I've noticed that you've just had this influx of cash. Do you want me to book an appointment with the advisor to have all that sort of stuff just starts becoming really, really exciting in terms of how you can support clients actively, like actually keep monitoring things for them. All of that stuff. Really, that's the stuff I'm really excited about. And I suppose the other thing that we've talked about a bit before, and I'm talking a bit with Hubwise about, is a bit more of the execution only journey stuff, and making more digital journeys into the portal, so that I just want to increase my regular contribution. Well, you should just be able to do that, to be honest. Let's just let you do that. I'd quite like to open a JISA. Well, we'll just let you do that. You don't need us to do all that sort of stuff. If we can start baking that into the portal.
And that's where the workflow extensions we're doing right now is very much around platform connectivity and how we can take integration to the next level, really, which is it's not just about data coming to and from systems anymore. It's about process, and it is about that straight through processing that we've been banging on about for 25 years. But it is about how we can support that. So if you can create a workflow and you can pick a step, pick an API endpoint, tell it what you want to send it, do a bit of manipulation if you want to, retrieve some responses back. And that's what it's all about. And that's when it becomes incredibly powerful. And that would work for platform integration, for AI integration. So watch this space, because we've got some cracking stuff coming out. It's happening out there right now. There's devs out there tapping away at their keyboards right now, making that happen. So that's really exciting for us, because then it's no code integration effectively then, isn't it? And it means, particularly as you have tech resource, you're not, like you said, you can already do stuff with the embedding stuff that we can do through workflow, but you'll be able to do even more if you've got your tech resource. You're not waiting for Moneyinfo. You can just crack on with it, and we'll help you along the way wherever needs be. So that's really exciting for me, and it was very interesting to hear those use cases for AI, because I think they're spot on, and they're quite straightforward things that will really demonstrate value very quickly.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt loads of stuff we've not even thought of yet. And as we start using the technology, more use cases will emerge. And as the technology improves as well, one of the things we're doing a lot of work on at the moment is in terms of the kicking the tires and how reliable is the AI. So we had some really weird experiences where we knew there were answers in the data and it wasn't retrieving the answers. And then conversely, the answers weren't in the data and it was giving answers that it had just sort of like that, the whole hallucination piece, it was just fabricating stuff. So there's a fair bit of work still to be done, and sort of from an operational point of view, setting the boundaries for all of this. So we need to keep a human in the chain. That's why that direct client interaction piece is a way off for us. But if it can support the advisor can peer review what it is it's told it. We include links to reference. If it's referencing a document, it will include where it's got that information from, so you can go back and double check all of that sort of stuff. So it's definitely coming. And as the models get more sophisticated, I mean, we know they're working on the GPT-5 model now in the background. We'll just see more and more use cases for this stuff, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're right, it's got to be controlled, hasn't it? It's got to be managed, and that rollout has to be, you've got to have, because we're in such a regulated industry, you've got to have the protections around it to make sure that it's used properly and effectively. Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, look, we're coming towards the end of our time today. So I always like to just give people an opportunity to, if people want to get in touch with you, Dan, if people want to find out more about what you're up to at Hyman Robertson, what's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. So if you just search for Daniel McMahon at Hyman Robertson Personal Wealth, that will drag me up. I would imagine if you chucked it in Google, you'll probably get my face pop up somewhere, as long as you put Hyman's in it as well.
GPT maybe.
ChatGPT. No, I don't know if I'm that infamous yet. I'm not quite cracked that one. But yeah, no, LinkedIn's probably the best place. I'm pretty active on there. So yeah, pop me a message. And yeah, happy to speak to anyone who would be interested in a chat.
Fantastic. Dan, thank you so much for joining us on the Advisor Tech Show.
It's
been really insightful to have you on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, Tess.